Okay. 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 See, what we want to talk about today is more like a simple sentence, Aisha. Okay. Serve unselfishly, love unconditionally. Okay.
Mhm.
Meditate on a single thought and transcend it. Realize who you are by going with it.
Mm.
Why? Because we will start with the last step first. Realize who you are with by going within seems to be the purpose of human life in spiritual circles.
Mm.
And eventually, all people come to that. You know, um, they want to pursue in different religious paths, different ways, either by their doing or loving or worshipping or doing this logical inquiry. But eventually, everybody wants to come to that, what is this about? What is my life about? What am I doing here? That kind of, once you establish the peaceful understanding, you can function better also, and also you enjoy life also. But not any excesses. I think that is what we are doing to ourselves and to the world. So somebody comes to me and say, hey, okay, you told me to go within and realize yourself. What does it mean? How can I do it? I say, okay, are you peaceful in your mind without having the charter? That's the first question I will ask him. He says, no, my mind is all over. I cannot keep it. Even suppose he says that. Then I say, okay, why don't you go and get that settled down? Try to concentrate every day, certain time, and then understand how the mind functions with your emotions, with your thoughts, with your beliefs, with your conclusions, and all that, and then use it in a way that is not really directing you all over. That's the problem, right? That's the modern problem. Much more so with all our information overload, all the devices, explosion of this information. Once we see that, then okay, I'm going to sit down and meditate. And he comes back to me and says, hey, you told me to sit down and meditate, but I cannot do that at all because I'm doing it. Nothing is happening. I'm not able to get it together. Then he said, okay, you have to eliminate some of the impurities in your brain, like you are not letting go some of the old memories, you are not letting go some of your own conceptions or conclusions or your conditioning factors and all that. That is the fact, right, with everybody, either the schooling or parents or culture or our own adamant behavior. That all makes us more like a, we don't want to let go some of,
Mhm.
we think this is I am me, this is me, and all that. So you got to do that. How do you do that? By doing a focused, unselfish work. Then the ego is not creating all the problems for you inside. And also you are connecting with outward world, which is making you feel like I'm contributing to something bigger.
Mm.
That's where the happiness is, in that course of doing something for a bigger cause, okay? Something greater than me. You take your institution, you say, I want to do good work that comes out, helps most people, or I want to help my family, or I want to help my institution. Then when you dedicate yourself to something bigger than you feel good. Also, you feel like I am contributing, everybody knows that, There was an experiment, a professor, he was conducting the class for the kids, and then he said, okay, let's go to a movie today. Oh, they also, oh, very good. And then he took them to the movie, and then he brought them home. Then the next day, he took them to an orphanage and made them serve all the kids there who are orphans. Just give a meal or give them a bath or something like simple things. And they all lovingly did it, and they came home. 6 months later, they asked, "Hey, did you remember that movie we saw 6 months ago?" Nobody really remembered the movie. But what was your experience with the orphans? Everybody remembered. So you have to engage in something bigger than you. It could be anything, meaningful thing that is really doing some helping somebody or nurturing some cause or something like that. So if you do that, that is called karma yoga,
mm,
where you're identifying a purpose that is meaningful, and then you are in the process. That is when, because of the process, happiness ensues as a result. But what we are doing now, we're putting some goals, and we think once we achieve the goals, then we can buy happiness. A lot
right.
of people go that way, and then they get awards, rewards, Oscar awards also. They say, we can't be happy because this is doesn't mean anything to me, you know. So that is why you do karma yoga with two things. One is unselfish, other is not goal oriented, not for the profit. Even if your goals are made, but the goal path is there, and path has to break into pieces of things you will be doing. Like 10 days time is there, each day you are planning to do this. When you come to the each day, you come to the each minute, what I'm doing now. If you are full of the goal in your mind, then your focus is not on what need to be done now. And also you won't enjoy that too. It's not that goals, noble goals are bad, but it has to be collective goal that is established and that has meaning for you. Then you are in flow.
Mm,
Then you are doing that. So that is the karma yoga. Another thing is, it is not done with the intention that I am doing this. That kind of thing puts everything into the ego's corner, and then we are going in that. Then we get the result, then we think we are the big deal. That's why this thing is happening. All this companies. So that is what very clear. So if somebody comes to us, first we have to tell them, okay, do a focused work where that is the meditation, but that is unselfish and that is meaningful for you, and then you will be in a happy path. Now, one easy way they combine both this unselfishness and also uh, focus, focused work is when you worship something you believe as a God.
mm,
Bhakti Yoga. You know, I came mainly from that Jnana Yoga because I'm a modern, educated, logical mind. I have to be convinced. So my egoic mind has to be convinced what this is. I think that is the both of us. If somebody says and go and just worship, it didn't make sense to me. Then they said, okay, more than your way of logical overcoming, this is much more intelligent.
mm,
I didn't understand that first. You know, how come I'm inquiring, I'm learning, this is more intelligent to me than that. In the Bhakti Yoga, what they employ is something more spicy, feeling, loving, and really with our emotions, we establish a relationship with some other force bigger than us.
mm,
And that is the focus. And when we do the work for its sake, not for all, my Lord, I'm doing it for Him. All the work I do is a worship for Him. Like, for example, BK Iyengar, he's a yoga master, right? So he used to do 10,000 demonstrations in his life. He did before he came to this country. Each time he does, he says it's my worship to the Lord.
mm,
Whatever Lord he believes. He didn't even tell who he believes and all that. But he was doing that. So it becomes like a spiritual experience for him. So what I'm saying is, then you are loving unconditionally, that becomes the Bhakti Yoga. So four things. First one is we start with the Karma Yoga, and then we graduate into Raja Yoga, where we focus our mind, and where we do both of this is the Bhakti Yoga. Whatever, I think the God is within us. So
Mhm.
I don't go out to worship something, but that's what I had to learn was each person has a different stage. You cannot force it on them. They have to realize themselves. But first, if they have some kind of focus, some kind of love for the work they are doing, they will do it better. You
Mhm.
know, so to focus, you need to do meditation, deliberate meditation. To get work meaningful for you, you have to identify a collective will, collective purpose, collective benefit. Then you won't be in that egoic mode. You can get education, you can do all that, you can enjoy simple life. But then ultimately, what is the purpose? Go within and realize. So your work is meaningful, your mind is focused on a purpose, and you are in flow. And then you sit down and then turn inside.
Mhm.
And then you discover the abundance already there. We miss that and we go outward and we think all those things will give us happiness. That is the problem, you know.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
once we understand this mechanism, again I will going to say, serve, love, meditate, and realize. Serve unselfishly, love unconditionally, meditate on a single thought and transcend. And finally, realize who you are by going with him. Most of the people are in a hurried process and not able to concentrate their mind because so many stimuli are coming from outside. Even if they want to be worried to one goal, lots of times financial reasons or commitments or relationships or accidents, whatever can happen in life, then they are going to error. Like myself, burnout coach, that's what I do. People are burned out because too many things came onto them and they don't have the resilience built up as a necessity.
Mhm.
They prepare for a tennis match prowess. They prepare for excellence in their education of some subject. That's all okay. But they don't prepare how to meet life. So I always ask a question. What is your fundamental thing? Is it to make a living or is to understand life and come through life with that understanding?
Mhm. Yeah.
You should not believe anybody because they will try to push their propaganda, right? Very easily, they say, you follow me, you give me so much money, then I will tell you what is the secret and you follow it. That is the one I was always against it. And then J. Krishnamurti made a difference there. He said, the light is within you.
Mhm.
You don't need any organization to show you the light. You have to go within and find out what you are. Who else can tell you how religious, how spiritual, what are your motives other than you? You can hide it there and then pretend like I'm such a sage, but inward you may not be something else. That's what is happening with some of the gurus and all this. So Guru used to be a revered figure because he had given up everything and he had so much love. He wants to protect people out of that love. So he wants people to be well. That's why he used to go to the king and advise him. And the king used to respect him. King used to listen to the wisdom, and from that wisdom he ruled it. He did not rule it for his personal fame or personal wealth I'm talking about good kings. The people, even now, the people who abuse power for their own egotistic needs, they are spoiling the world. They are creating havoc in the world. Whereas the wise people, because they are full within, they don't want anything from anybody. All they want is, I want to promote wellness. I want to see a welfare of the entire world. I want to protect the creator by the creator, whoever that is. I want to worship my mother earth. I want to make sure she's not hurt. That kind of thing. So they were, in Sanskrit it's called Atma Mokshardham, that is personal realization of who they are, that consciousness within, and Jagat Hitacha, welfare of the world. So the first thing is, you have to realize you are part of that absolute consciousness. And then once you have found your abundance within, from that abundance, you can acquire skills, you can acquire so many things that are, appealing to you, natural to you, and then go and work for the welfare of the world.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a question at this point?
Sure.
I feel that one of the challenges is preservation of self versus selflessness.
Yeah.
And because kind of closing the loop on the two sentence on the flanking the beginning of the statement and then the end of the statement, you kind of have give selflessly and then but go within. And to be a whole person, sometimes you have to protect yourself and kind of if there are situations where it's contradictory to give selflessly and protect yourself, how do you navigate that?
This confusion existed for me too. They're talking about one self and the other self. So there is a clear delineation of what is a small self, what is a big self. The big self is out there, the consciousness that engulfs everything. They called it Brahman. Here we call it unified field of consciousness. That is the bigger self you want to realize that is staying within you. That's like a sun that is shining, but is falling on everybody, everything. We kind of shut that off by elevating our lower self, which thinks I am separate from that bigger self. So actually it was created like that. You start as a child and then build up that lower self, and as you are getting more and more into the conceptual logical mind, you think you are that is the self you are talking about. How can I preserve that at the same time selfless? What they're asking is, you are not that small self. Small needs are there, but why do you have to think that is the whole thing? You are just a part of the human being where body exists, mind exists, and then this consciousness within us also exists.
Yeah, and that merging of the small self into the larger self, it seems like if you were to meditate on this practice enough and do it and be actionable, then it's a positive feedback loop where you actually accelerate the rate of that process by kind of doing what you're saying.
It's not something that you do forcibly. It is something that you transcend slowly. As you understand what is the role of the small self, how much it can go, where it becomes a limitation to me to realize who I am. Because people are restless. They can go and degrees, get a life. I did all that, right? I went and got education, went and developed a career, went and developed a family, I went, friends and all that, okay? But they're all external to me. What is really me is inside me. all those things did not give complete peace and happiness. Even if you are given that transient. And then when the real thing happens, like a big deal, that small cell cannot handle it. A disease, an accident, a love failure, or all these things can happen to people, right? So how are you going to take that as part of life and then move on? Because we hold on to that. I want my life to be this way, but life says, no, this is the way it is going to happen. How many things happen to people? I see thousands of patients in this career, 40 years, right? I have seen people are very high when they have this job and material things and the status and followers and all that, right? And suddenly something happens, they become from kings to the paupers. And then they cannot take it. Even the actors also, they get Oscar awards and all that, then they kill themselves. Robin Williams, good example, right? So this is shown time and again, all the external achievements do not give internal happiness. So they go the direction of the drugs or self-destructive behavior. You know, all those things are not needed because the internal realization is a feeling of contentment, abundance, peace, and happiness. Happiness in the sense you don't have all these disturbances. You're kind of cool and content. You're unhurried because you know what it is. That is the permanent thing, Aisha. A lot of people, they think this body mind created world is permanent. It's not. We're going to die. All this is going to be left off. But that consciousness is always continuous. It creates more manifested body minds, and there is a lot of talk about that we carry the light body and all that, but we don't know. All I know is how to live this life in the present. The sooner I get out of the past, not I have to forget the past. Don't live the past. What I'm living, what is my life right now? I'm here, I'm spending time with my sister and you. That is that, right? What we care about is what is happening here. There's a transmission of, okay, this is what we want to understand. And that is life. It cannot go back, or we don't know what is going to come. I may lose electricity, I may lose contact with you. But if I'm thinking about that, then I'm living in the future, worried. Then I cannot do what I'm doing right now. So that is the important thing. Do you live in the present? That's the one question.
I try my best.
You have to, that's the chance for you to examine that, are we living in the past or are we projecting into the future? The moment you realize that, that falls off. Because you bring your attention, awareness to here. You see, we talk about this, me and my sister, all the time. My mom lived for 88 years and then she passed away, right? So while she was living, I paid a lot of attention to her. Not just attention of providing food, everybody can do that. But what is going on within her? What kind of worries she has? What kind of concern she has? How can I help those? Then you are really intimate inside with your parents, with your spouse, with your kids and all that. But if you are going your own drum way and then you come once a year and then say, well, how are you? And then go, where is the relationship? What's the purpose of relationship anyway? So bringing that kind of quality in relationship means you got to be in the present. You got to enjoy them while they're here. You have to relate and spend time with them in that intimate way. Then when she passed away, I mean, everybody dies and all that, but I'm not going to cry for myself because I want her love again. Continue. But I'm happy that she doesn't have any pain. She passed away peacefully. That's good enough. But then I celebrate her life by remembering how she lived, what kind of wisdom she taught me and all that. Then that continues. Otherwise, my sister, she went into the grief and she cried for 2 years because she was crying for herself more than the person who died. Because she didn't want to lose that love of mother, and that's why she was crying for that. So the question was, are you crying for yourself or crying for the person who passed away?
Yeah.
That other person would tell you, don't cry. Because I had my journey, I finished it. Let me go. But the people hang on to their own selfish needs and cry. I mean, they get hurt when we say that, but it's a reality, isn't it?
Yeah, this is relevant for me right now. My father passed away from COVID in December, and it's taking its hit on my sisters and my brothers.
I mean, I was so disappointed with that administration. They could have done so much better. Not only that, they removed the prevention that they put in there. They were doing up till December. In January, they took it away. Some stupid understanding about saving money. They are not doing anything, but they are there as watchdog. Only when the incident happened, they will go and get those things, and they used to nip it in the bud when the virus was reported in China. First thing, they would have gone there, they would have found the facts, and then they would have prevented, at least warned other countries to ban the travel or, be more careful. And these people did not do that, But anyway, the way I look at it is, Bhagavad-Gita, right? What it was?
Did we discuss it last time? I'm not sure.
It's a text from India, like Bible, but
right.
Yeah, Hinduism, the Bhagavad-Gita, but actually that is universal. Bible is also universal if you take it in the right context, So I don't identify like that, but I identify the message in it. As long as we attend a message anywhere, we are okay. I do Quran, I do Bible, I do this one. All have the message almost the same, really. So if you read one text and then you don't have to remember and be a scholar in it. But what is important is, how is that message relevant to me? Is that active in my life? Is that real in my life? I think that is the most important thing. People don't do that. They want to have all sorts of propaganda that this book is great, but that book message is not in their life. In Bhagavad Gita, there are so many things you can learn. One of the things I'm talking about this one. Najayate, that is that which is never born. Mriyateva, never have a death because it was never born. That is the consciousness out of which we came. What is born? Body and mind, they are going to end. But what is the spark of life that is gone from that body mind? Never is born, never goes away. Things manifest from that, but that is there. Take the sea. Sea is water, right? The water produces waves. Wave thinks that I am individual wave. I am tsunami to small wave, middle wave, like that. If you identify I'm this big wave, you're going to go and crash anyway. Then what is remaining after the crash of the wave? Still water is remaining. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So once you understand this, then your father's consciousness, your consciousness, my consciousness is only one big sea, out of which we were born, and then our body and mind will end. But what he lived and how he enjoyed, what kind of thing, all those things, they are there in our memory, but we can make them as lessons or remember and celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of patients, Aisha, that lose people, and also I have been in geriatrics the first few years of my life, when I was in Chicago, 1983 to 90. I was in geriatrics, 3 years residency and then practice in the nursing homes and other places. So most of the people we see in geriatrics, they're going to pass away pretty soon. So end of life issues was a bigger deal. Then I had to examine this issue as the issue of death. What was the perspective of the East? What was the perspective here? What is going on with the event of death when it happens in India, in other countries? And then I was on the panel. Nationally, there was a discussion that each area they came and then invited people who are seeing this kind of patients and who are involved in the end of life issues, because it's not glamorous, but then it's a part of our curriculum. So they invited me on the board at this level, and I participated. Then I presented how death was seen in India, how death is treated here. Death in India, a small kid sees his grandpa dying. So he gets to the fact, okay, we all grow and then we die. So they kind of do the rites, they kind of let them, people, like me and my sister, people grieve in different ways. That's okay, But then there is a lot of support, and then people get over it very, very quickly because you have seen it from childhood. Whereas here, people are shunted to nursing homes, hidden away, and they die. Nobody knows. Only the real family may know, and they are also not prepared for death. That's why they suffer more. Look at President Biden. He seems to me, I love him. I really think he's a great guy, but he aged considerably after the son died. Mm-hmm. Before, you see when he was with the Obama administration and all that, up until he died, he was okay. But then after that, he aged very quickly. You know why that is? Because the grief produces a reaction that affects your mind physically. And that way, your aging accelerates.
Mm. Yeah.
But the people who take birth as natural, death as natural, they deal with it better. Mm-hmm. So that's an education I did as a physician to a lot of patients, and I got the chance. I don't want to go and tell them when they are not facing that because it's very difficult for them. But when they face something, they come to me really crying, asking for Valium or something like that. I may give the Valium because they cannot handle it, but with judicious, but then few days only. But then I also take the opportunity to make them see this fact. The more their mind sees that, the quicker they come on. It all depends on the intimacy I have with my patient. And some of them, they think I'm God. Whatever I tell them, they will do, But that is because they faith in me that I would address their problem. But some of the people have to be convinced because they think all this is a bunch of hogwash, But then I have to tell them compassionately. But we did it. Lots of times I got through them. I'm not saying you should not feel it. I know what you're feeling, but is that necessary? Mm-hmm. Yeah. For some days, for some time, we cannot deny that, But then it's not bad to feel that either. But do we continue that by living in the past? This is the same with the depression and everything also. Do we continue that same loss, same thing, all of that? Do you have to continue to live? There was an actor called Dev Anand in India. He is a phenomenal person because even he was 88 and all that, he acted like a hero. And he had multiple failures in his life. The first one was a beautiful actress. He fell in love, and they both were an item in the beginning. But that was the time when in India, everything is taboo. You can't even say, I am loving this girl. Okay? And that's why they belong to Hindu and Muslim. Both are different religions. So she also loved him intensely, but she was made to cancel it because of her family saying he's a different religion. Mm. They both were heartbroken. But the fact was they were separated by the societal arrangement. And then he cried for a few days. Then he said, I got over it, I put it aside and went into creating something new. The same attitude he continued through the life. He accepted his loss, he cried for it, and then he put it aside, even though it is there, but his energy was in creating something new. Think about that and grasp onto that. Maybe it will be very good for you down the line. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's something, not a preaching or anything. I'm stating the fact what he did, you know. But you know, this thing of najayate mreteva has a lot of truth in it. Eckhart Tolle was talking about old movies, black and white movies, and he saw all these crowds of people in New York and Detroit, other places where they run these documentaries, you know. He said, what happened to those people? They came and gone. But what is remaining is this birth and death happening continuously, this shaping of new life and coming on. I recommend a small book for you, Ayesha. Maybe you read it. It's called Freddie, Freddie, The Leaf by Leo Buscaglia, Buscaglia. Okay.
I have not read it.
It's a very small book written for this purpose. I will tell you what is that. Very simple. This Freddy takes birth as a small leaf, you know, and he is growing. He looks around, everything beautiful, nice. He feels strong and all that, and he is enjoying. And he looks at the neighborhood, and then there is a leaf there, and he begins a conversation with that leaf. You know? Hey, what's happening? All those things. Then he sees the other way. He sees a ripe leaf falling to the ground. And he has hey, what has happened to him? He's just falling to the ground. He's oh, that's called death because he's already ripe. So his time is finished. He's going down. There's oh, it happens like that. Yeah, it happens to all of us. You know. So you will be like me, and later on I'll be like that leaf, and that life goes and falls down. Then I say, oh, is that what it is? We don't have it. No, you become the seed for the next birth. That leaf left alone goes into the earth, becomes manure for the birth of some other plant. Right? So life continues. We are recycled elements of the earth. Once we remember that, earth and we are not separate. You know, this is big in Ayurveda because they are the most personalized medicine thousands of years ago. So what they say is our body has three parts: Stula, Sukshma, Karana. Stula means our gross body. Okay? Sukshma means our inner thoughts, desires, feelings, all the emotions. That is all is a micro body. It is there, but you cannot see it. I can see a liver, I can see a heart. I cannot see the emotions in the heart. Right? And then there is this bija, karana, that is root cause with which everything has come. That is the consciousness. So they were dealing with consciousness. So if you want to be in the consciousness, you want to deal with your stula, that gross body, and also micro body. This is where that small self comes. We are part of the big C, which is the big self. But we are thinking we are the wave. But we are made up of that big consciousness. That wave has its course, but then crashes. But if you really see Water in that wave, you see the truth. But if you only see the wave and you think wave is individual, then you are in mithya, maya, illusion.
Mm.
That's what we do with our lives. We delude ourselves that we are this body and mind with all our thoughts, all our personality. But that's actually a mask to who we really are. That is what these people are saying. By realizing yourself, you really reach the shore. There is another example they gave. It made impression on me. What happens in the sea? All the water goes up into the clouds, right? And the clouds are subjected to the winds and they are very restless. And then heavy with all this water, then they go down and rain. What happens with the rainwater? Ultimately, they go and form a river. Either they get used or whatever, but still they go into the river. And once in the river, it's very restless. You want to race back to the sea. However much you put dams and all that, it will find its way and it will go. And finally, when it reaches the sea, it is quiet. I thought that was a very good example.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah. I really like the analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is tending toward a steady state.
Yes. Yes. What happens to the sea? The superficial layers are restless and become waves. But if you go to the depth, it's very quiet,
Mm-hmm.
rich life. We're spoiling even that. You see? That is what I'm really focused on. How can we really focus on the planet? Wellness of the planet, wellness within us, wellness outside us, and then wellness of the planet also. That's the interview yesterday I gave. Mostly came out of that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't this good enough? Serve, love, meditate, realize. Where I picked up is called, there was a doctor in India. He was a tremendous stature in doctor. He was an educated allopathy and all. But then he took medicine and Ayurveda and yoga and learned all this. And he compiled this. He said these four words. Everybody says karma yoga, raja yoga, all these things. But how do we interpret them into our life?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Work unselfishly, that is karma yoga. Love unconditionally, because the same life force or God, self, whatever heart you call, is there in Aisha, in my sister, in me. Everybody, we share that. We are not individual like that, but then once you open up your love like that, everybody, that's basically what it is, right? We don't have any difference. Then we are accepting them as they are. That is the embracing in love. Okay, you can direct it towards the Lord you want it and then work, that's fine. Then you have two yogas combined together in Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, just work unselfishly, keep your body and mind in a good order, and then what you do, you want to clean up your mind. That is the Gnana Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
How it happens is by unselfishly working, your mind will be clean because you don't have ego, you don't have goal orientation. That is the problem with Western civilization, and it is going and destroying every other culture. India is no longer like it used to be India. Most of the Indian kids also, when you talk to them, they don't understand their own heritage because they were so engulfed by this Western consumerism, commercialism, pressure orientation, and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
we all go through that. I went through that too. But we have to realize when we are doing what now, it has brought to a point our planet is threatened with this
Yeah.
lifestyle. So you have to moderate them. That's what I'm trying to educate people. And I'm getting a lot of reception because if they don't have the inclination towards that, they would not accept this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go and say you are all bad people because you are consuming and all that, but I understand the mechanics behind it. I show it to them. And also I'm concerned about what is going to happen, what kind of thing I'm leaving for my children. See, all the youngsters are really conscious about this. They are really taking a stand. They are not buying what their parents are advertising. They want to make a change. That's a very good thing, I think. I just want to promote that.
Yeah, that's definitely the right message, I think.
Yeah, definitely needed message too, because the way we are, I just saw a story this morning. The oil drilling companies, they are allowed to do it because they are not allowing the Biden ban on them because of the previous law. So even if the president wants to do it, he is not able to do it because these people put in a previous law. I don't know how they're going to overcome. That is what I read this morning. I was really disappointed to see that. That's where the awareness has to come. We are the voters. We control that. The more we know about it, we can fight to change it. That's the way only I believe. You have to educate. We have to increase awareness. We have to bring in a revolution in our consciousness and then present it. You see, if you don't do it, then consequences. I have seen it in my own lifetime. By the way, did you see David Attenborough's this planet life?
Planet Earth. Yeah. Yeah. Those are always
There was a
spectacular.
recent movie he made from the time he was a young man till now.
Yeah, I've watched half of it at this point, so I've seen the first part.
Yeah. You see that movie, and he brought it up pretty good. I felt like I also lived this, because when I was very young, things were so good. I was telling my wife this morning, she opened the door, all the sunlight came in, and we felt very good. And then said, this is how we used to stay outside in the sun in the morning, because it was so good. It was not intense at all. It was a real light sun, but bright, but not heat. So when you stay there, that sunbathing is very good for you. Okay, but then it goes to the mid afternoon or in the noon. That's not good. You know where you are getting your noon sun these days? From your phone. Blue light. It's coming to you guys. You are just not knowing about a fact that is medical fact. That's why limit the screen time as much as possible. Don't be at the clubhouse all the time. That's what we talked about, that about the hacks that we can give to electronically. They're talking about it in one thing. There it came up. This blue light exposure to people is equal to exposure to the midday sun. So you can see, what it is? It is affecting the brains.
Yeah.
It's going to play with your attention, with your awareness, with your intelligence and memory, all those things.
Well, especially when you're not in control. No, it's true. I think about that all the time, because we're, a company in Silicon Valley can predict my next action faster than I can on that device.
Exactly.
They know what I'm going to do before I do. So it's obviously not just affecting me, it's directing me. So
it is taking over your life in a small way. And then that's what is happening with the clubhouse meetings. Some of them, when I go, they all give these devices as hacks. One guy was telling me, I don't know, I forgot the name, Biodron, something like that. They put it in the ears and then it will do something and he will be relaxed and he will go to sleep or something like that. So they have so many external devices they're coming up with that they want people to use. I raised my concern. Look at what happened with calculator. We used to calculate by ourselves and we retained that ability. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? That everybody knows. That innate, creative, and sharpness is gone because we are depending on something else that is external. Take, for example, a TV remote. At least people should get up and go to the TV and switch it on. Now it's like they sit. And we always say sitting is the new smoking. So many problems. People are aware of that. Talking about in the clubhouse, I'm very happy to see that I promote it too. The same way, what I'm saying is, why can't you have a non-invasive, something that I can do by myself in my control, rather than putting more devices around? I'm an informatician, but I want communication to improve. I want the big data to be used, but I don't want these devices is needed. Suppose somebody loses a leg, I have no problem giving him an artificial prosthetic leg, but when it comes to senses and mind, what we need to do, I am against devices. Unless they are really disabled, they cannot do it to enhance that. Suppose somebody lost an eye, and then they created in eye, that I presented in my talk also. What they do is they put an implant in the occipital and put it connected to the eye, and you can actually see from that eye too. Amazing stuff coming out. But like everything else, unless we are in charge, like in phone or remote or anything, we will be driven by them. You put it correctly. You don't want to be driven by them. That's the correct attitude, But are you really though? Examine that, Ayush. Are you really doing that? Then it becomes, am I in the present? Ask that question all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty mindful of that these days. I try my best to do that. I do find that the devices have been very useful for, information sharing and, coming to this higher level of consciousness and all of that. I couldn't do that without my devices. So there's certainly the good to the bad to balance it out.
Yeah, but what I'm concerned about is people may not see in that light. They think, oh, it's helping me, let me use it. But the same thing happened with calculator. I have this Vedic mathematics course on this DVD. They showed how they did. Even I did excellent when I was in high school. We don't have any calculators. They were not existent in anybody. I was in high school from 65 to 70. Okay. At that time, no calculators. And then we used to do complex mathematics with our brain. Probably I can do it now, but at that time, one equation after no answer is right there. You have to figure it out step by step. And then it's a very complex. And I used to go and the teacher used to ask, okay, solve this. And I used to go by each step. And for that, you need that capacity to do it. And then I solved it, continuously. And I used to get 100% marks, 100 out of 100. Then the ability is eroded because we gave it to some other device. You see my concern? That's what I hope I can. When I really become a chief wellness officer, that's what I want to do for the health system. I want to bring in this kind of nourishment of our, not only the body, mind, and our intellectual capacity, but not in an egotistical way. That is where the small self becomes the hindrance for us. Make your ego your slave, because a good slave, but a poor master. But most of the people are already in that master level. So they cannot come out of the ego. That's why they are not able to go to the source, which we talked about. That's why serve unselfishly, love unconditionally, meditate on your mental process, and then concentrate, make it one thought, and transgress it. Then you will realize who you are by turning inward. You cannot turn inward if your mind is restless. Your mind is, by doing selfish, goal-oriented activity all the time, is not able to do that. And also you cannot really realize your loving self and be a loving being if you are involved in selfish activities only. I think it came out pretty together right now, right? The message of the purpose of human life is to turn inside and realize who we are and merge in that source. Otherwise, there will be restless waters, restless clouds, and always running away all over, And then once you realize that is my purpose, how I reach it with a focused mind, I have to do good works so that it will clear my mind. And then it will open up my loving heart.
Mhm.
I think that's enough for today. If you have any other questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, we'll stop.
I thought that was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think we recorded it, so we will see what happens with all that.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciated this.